Well, good morning. It's Friday morning, casual day, no tie. We're here working on Jack's truck again, the gray Volvo, and I got the phone call this morning that Kevin is a little bit under the weather, so he's not coming in today. But just to keep things moving ahead, we've gone over to the other side to our neighbors here, and I've got some guys that are coming to help us today. I'm going to introduce you to Justin in a little bit. The plan for today is we're going to roll the axle underneath, and we're going to bring in the scissor lift up the back end of the truck, pull out the jacks that are under it right now. So we're going to get the truck perfectly level back into kind of like its factory height, and using the front axle center to rear axle center, we're going to measure our wheelbase. Also using the suspension components on the side that are still attached to that axle. Remember, we wanted to leave them on there. We're going to use that as a template to mark each of the holes, and probably a good part of our day today is going to be just putting on the mag drill and drilling out all of those frame holes that are going to be needed for the new wheelbase singling knit. You also notice that we've got the frame primed only, but we haven't put the box liner on it yet because we want the mag drill to have really good purchase onto that steel. The steel is nice and flat, so we've got a very good flat surface for the magnet to work. But again, we want to get as close to that metal as we can so that that mag drill doesn't slide or move. So these fine looking gentlemen are going to be helping me today over from next door at Arctic, again because Kevin isn't feeling all that well. We've got Joe and Justin who's going to help us out. Like I said, you need lots of hands underneath here. Are you putting your fingers behind my head or something? I can see that, isn't it? Yeah. Anyways, we're going to get started with a little bit of help from these guys.
Tight squeeze, eh?
Right here.
Oh, there we go. Just off the.
Let's try that. All right, we're doing a 230-inch wheelbase. This is going to be from center of axle to center of axle, and using a square very, very carefully. We've marked exactly 18.5 inches out from the frame, squared in all directions, and then measured down to the floor to exactly that point. So we're aiming for an error of, less than 1/8 of an inch ultimately in getting that axle placed to the back. So we're going to be measuring exactly at the center of the axle, straight back to the rear axle, under the king pins, 18.5 inches away from the frame, to the back axle, and on the other side as well. So we're going to have 3 points of measurement, and of course we're going to be doing measurements corner to corner as well on the truck to make sure that we have the rear axle exactly square. So we've extrapolated measurements in a number of different directions, but just for a visual reference for you, this is the center of axle at 230 inches exactly, measured in a number of different ways. Of course, we'll be doing squaring later. we need to put the airbags back onto it and get the springs back to a ride height, because that will affect the center of axle. So that's what we're doing now. We're going to reattach the airbags, get the hangers back up there, and we're going to be lifting the back of the axle as well to the right ride height, and then also centering the axle at 230 inches. We'll put things back together. I want to point out that you want all new bolts, all new nuts. Never put anything old back on. Go to a little extra expensive. Put on some new nuts and bolts. Okay, we've got our axle placed at exactly 230 inches. You can see that the exact center of the axle is meeting up with our very accurate line on the floor. We've got the angle of the suspension set to exactly the ride height if the airbags were aired up and if there was weight on the suspension. We've got the frame hanger placed exactly parallel with the frame. We have actually drilled, well, we had it here, 2 holes and put in 2 bolts. We're going to tighten those up really, really well. And we're going to mark the remaining holes, drill them. We're going to mark the remaining holes on the axle stop as well as on the shock support. We're also going to mark the torque arm, because all those holes will have to be drilled because it's pointing the other way. Then we're going to roll the axle out and start making a whole bunch of holes. The cross member, we've moved it as far forward as we can to still allow the, this is hard doing it with one hand, to allow the torque arm to be put in there, and also allow the attachment block to be mounted just forward of the cross member. The mounting point, there's about 1/4 of an inch of play between where the torque arm mounts and where the cross member is sitting. We've also been a little bit lucky. If you look in there, you'll see that we've got a few holes that have lined up for us. So we've got some here, I've got some inside here as well. But we've got about 7 or 8 holes on this side and about 6 on this side that have lined up. So that's a nice little Christmas present as well, that we don't have to drill all those extra holes. We've got a few that work. We have a few other things that we're going to have to mark on the frame as well for drilling before we roll this axle back out. We've got our shock mounts, and we're pretty lucky. We do have 2 holes that line up, but originally the top one was used as well. So we're going to have to mark all 3 of those, make sure that they're sized properly and located. And also we've got this rest that when the truck is aired down, it makes sure that the airbags don't collapse too much. And we need all 3 of these used. And we're lucky we've got 2 holes that perfectly line up, so we're going to have to mark the 3rd one. There we've rolled the axle back out. You can see that all the points we need to drill have been marked here. We're going to put in a pilot hole and we're going to use our reamers to cut those out. That's going to be going there, so we need to just drill one hole. We're lucky. And as well, we need to put one more hole in for that, for the shock mount. We don't want some movie projects.